Ladies and gentlemen, how are we sounding? Looks like we're sounding good. Welcome to every single one of y'all that are watching live on YouTube, live on Twitch, and now officially live on Spotify and soon to be on Apple Podcast. Welcome back to Confessions, the number one podcast in the world. As always, I'm your host, Father Derek, joined by co-host Raju, brother Jerome. Thank you for tuning in to this episode 61 of the Confessions podcast, and continuing our journey down Genesis and Matthew. We're about to wrap up on Matthew either this week or next week. So it's exciting to see. And but of course, as always, boys, I mean, I just want to get a just quick touch on how y'all were doing this week. We touched on it briefly right whenever we got here, but I just want to hear a little bit. By the way, it's my birthday today, and so very happy to be here with every single one of y'all that are watching. There's no other place I would rather be than right here, right now, doing the number one podcast in the world on my birthday with my brothers here. And so I feel very blessed and privileged and grateful that God has blessed me with yet another year of life and another opportunity to do this podcast. So just, I'm just happy to share this moment with y'all.
First off, happy birthday, bro.
Happy birthday.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Blessed to have you as a friend. Grateful for another year. Let's keep it going, man. Let's keep it going.
But how was y'all's week?
Mine was honestly kind of slow labor-wise, but it also kind of allowed me to really just focus on the marketing side of things, and I think overall it makes you realize what's your biggest constraint, at least for me, and that happens to be the marketing side of things for me, which is, can go into details, which is to simplify it, advertisement, specifically paid advertisement, leading to a funnel, which leads to converting actual leads. So that's the simplest way I can explain it, but I like to also believe it was kind of a test of faith. Just during those slower moments, it's a good test of faith to stay disciplined and to remain faithful to God and trusting in His plan to keep doing what you have to do and keep moving forward. So that was how my week went. And also, I think physically, I don't know, bro. I think I've been needing to take a break physically, genuinely. Because I've been having issues physically, like back pains and I don't know.
You're getting up there, bro. You're older than me.
I was feeling weird, bro. I was feeling off. I was like, hold on, something's wrong. And I took maybe 2 rest days from just no physical training at all. Like, I try to stay every day. Weightlifting, MMA training. But took 2 days off, and I'm starting to feel a little bit more right. The back is feeling better. The whole body's feeling more relaxed.
Well, I think you going back to MMA training, like, I don't think you realize how much impact that had on your body. And then whenever you stopped, and then now you're back into it. So now it's like all that's catching up to you. You're basically going through the growing pains again. You know what I mean? Like if you take a break from the gym, and then you go back, and then why does this weight feel a little bit heavier than it was before? This says 10, but it feels like 20. You know what I mean? Now, like with MMA, I'm sure your body's kind of saying the same thing. Like, dang, this hurts a little bit more than it did. Really, like.
Yeah, maybe I'm just reaching unk status or whatever. But yeah, that's a different type of conditioning for sure. And as of lately, training wise, hasn't really been too intense. It's been more, hey, I'm getting a workout in. Yes, I want to look good. Yes, I want to do better. But at the same time, I also want to feel good. So I'm not trying to strain my body too much, if that makes sense. But that's how my week's been. And overall, like I said, it's been a good test of faith and just remaining stoic and confiding in God that the plan is still working. Yeah, that's how my week was.
Mine was a doozy. It was officially my first full week and living in Lubbock. Yes, sir. Moved in Sunday. It's been a lot of adjustment, a lot of getting used to, a lot of overwhelming, a lot of information to take in all at once because I'm starting a whole new chapter, right? But I tell myself to get all these bumps and bruises and obstacles, the growing pains out the way now. So come fall, I'll look like a veteran. I'll look like I've been there before. I'll look like I already know what I'm doing. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going through all this now. Paperwork, uh, the internship, registering for classes, getting to know people that I'm gonna be besties with throughout my time there. Academic advisors, financial aid advisors. My dad was the Marine, so I gotta get in contact with the military people. Making my way around campus, walking, getting familiar with the bus routes. Took the bus the other day for the first time. I just sat in there and went around the whole route. He probably thought I was weird. Like I'm just learning it. Where it stops, what time it stops, because all that's new to me. Even though my brother's an alumnus there, he really didn't do much of that. He just was already an upperclassman. He just went to class and home, right? But I kind of want to get more involved. Maybe use the resources that they have that most people don't use. That people that don't even know they exist. Like it has a membership for the gym, right? The pool and the volleyball and all that, right? That I can use now that I'm a student there instead of going to buy a membership unless the sauna really grabs me. So that's the one thing that I would get a membership for at TrueFit is for a sauna. But just all these learning pains and growing pains, and it's a lot. I'm like, oh my gosh, meeting all these people already. Tech is active. It's like we're from Plainview, right? Tech, the campus is like a mini Plainview in Lubbock. So I'm walking around living in a mini town in Lubbock. It's always active. There's always people. You can never be alone. You think you're alone, but there's always someone else walking, doing something, patrolling, driving. So, especially being an introvert coming from a small town, stepping up from a JUCO, this is a lot for me. And it's exciting though. I've already met a few people from all over Puerto Rico. The people I'm working with from my internship are both from China. They tell me their names and what they mean. I'm like, dang, that's cool. I'm already learning a lot, experiencing stuff that I would have never experienced down the street. It's like just coming down the street to Lubbock, you're already opened up to so much more. Imagine how we always say when we want to go to Dallas or, across the ocean to, Europe and all that. But it's exciting. It's sometimes it's uncomfortable because you have to jump through all these hoops. But I tell myself it's all right. It's temporary, doesn't last forever. But I'm making a good testimony, a good story for when I, look back one day and be like, dang, I really stayed at Tech on campus for the summer, and just something like that's a good story, a good little feat for my accomplishments. I'm like, man, I never would have thought that I would have done something like that. As small as it is, it's big to me, and that's what's so exciting. And I'm looking forward to the rest of my time here. This is just the beginning. It's already a lot. So when I get used to it, learn the ropes, and I'm like a Lubbock local, I know everything. I'm excited for what's to come with not only confessions but our lives.
No, and that's exciting to hear. And I think what's cool that we're all has brought this up in the past, but we're all on our different stages. And while we're on Bluetooth all often, right? At the same time, it's like we're in those veteran stages of his business, living in Lubbock, my real estate career. I'm about to hit my second year. So we kind of been here, but like when you start that journey, right? You start that new chapter, everything feels fresh, exciting because it's brand new. Everything's brand new. And so I think that feeling that you have right now is something that we should all strive for to experience, more times than not, because I think once you do get comfortable, you get accustomed to the new way of living, then it's easy to just kind of sit back and be like, all right, I don't want to venture out and get into that uncomfortability again, because you feel like if you feel out of place and you're questioning yourself a lot, you have no idea what to do. And so, but I think in those moments I heard this said once, is like embarrassment is too much of an unexplored emotion. We need to go out and get more embarrassed, to get more out of our comfort zone, because what we're looking for in life is often on the other side of that. Because really what embarrassment is. It's just a reflection of you feeling ignorant, feeling dumb because you don't know what you're doing. But that's whenever you get an opportunity to learn. And of course, that gives you an opportunity to grow. And so, embarrassment, that feeling, we should be looking for more opportunities in our lives to experience that. And that's how you get more fulfilled because now you're able to tell these great stories of like, man, I tried this and I failed at first, or I wasn't good, or I had no idea what I was doing, but I learned because I was at least willing to take that risk of feeling a little bit goofy for a couple days or however long. You took that risk, and because of it, you got to learn something brand new. You get to meet someone brand new. And so I think embarrassment being an underexplored emotion is something that we can all take to heart.
And it ties closely to how my week went. It's exciting because there was a few times I was uncomfortable. I was like, oh man, I'm scared. I'm fearful, but I'm like, okay, I got to do it regardless, right? I was embarrassed because there was times where I was walking through the library. It has 5 floors, and I was just learning. And multiple people asked me, "Are you lost? Are you okay? Like, you need help?" And I'm like, "No, I'm okay." Being the only person in the summer in the library on the 5th floor, walking around by myself. And the staff sees me and they're like, what are you doing here? No, I'm just exploring. I'm learning. It's cool to say like, hey, 5th floor of the tech library. Like already learning the lore behind it. They call it the stacks and stuff like that. It's like a maze of books. And I was like, man, this is the myths, the urban legends are true about it, right? Experienced it for myself, and getting on the bus and going around the whole thing and getting off where I got on. People were like, oh, this guy got on the wrong bus or what? It felt like that, but it's just part of the like. It's all different, and once I do get accustomed to it over the summer, I really like how you said we should strive to feel that feeling because it feels great. It's a mix of everything. It's good feelings, scary feelings, bad feelings. Missing home feelings, like oh, what's going on? But it's something it's a high. In other words, a high from life. And I like how you said when we should keep striving for that because what's next after Lubbock? Lubbock's just a small little stepping stone from Plainview. Well, now Dallas. Then what's after Dallas? Another state. It's after another state, another country. It's the next thing you know will be like Elon Musk going to Mars. So it's just saying the what is it? How did they say the sky is limitless?
The sky is the limit.
Sky is the limit.
It's open world, man. I think we really forget that you could do whatever it is you want in life. Like if you want to pick up all your stuff and move to another country, there's nothing stopping you. You can go, and I think that's what's part of that spontaneity and being willing to take those risks. I think we lack that sometimes, and I like to believe that we should continue to strive for those new beginnings because those new beginnings is what's gonna take us to that next step of our journeys, and it's gonna help us grow at the end of the day. So I'm very excited for you for that, and I know we're looking for that as well. We're looking for our next step, and I think we're all taking this next step together. Here soon, bro. It's already June 12th. Meaning, hey man, it's time to start looking around. You know what I mean for some housing for the end of July, and so I mean that in and of itself is exciting too. That's gonna be something that's completely brand new for us, living together under one roof, and I'm excited to see how we're gonna be able to feed off of one another and what we're gonna be able to learn from each other and how we're gonna be able to help each other grow. I'm excited for that more than anything, and I know that that's the right step. That's a good step for all of us. And then, of course, I mean, hopefully the audience will get a little bit more behind the scenes of what it's like to be a part of the number one podcast of the World Confession. Subscribe if you haven't already, and yeah, so I'm excited, boys. And this week for me, just a lot of work, a lot of work, a lot of growth, and I'm just happy to be here, blessed to be 25, and I feel great, and I'm just prepared. I'm just, mission's still the same. Work ethic hasn't gone down. I'm just continuing to grind, Did a lot of work today, do a lot of work the next day, and the next day. And that's just kind of how it is from here on out. But I feel proud to be able to say that I'm working on, something that I love, and I'm sharing it with people that I love. And that means more to me than anything else. So
I have a question for both of y'all. Any realizations this week?
Realizations.
Like you're just experiencing, you're going throughout your week, right? And you're just like, I was gonna cuss, but like, oh crap, just realized this.
I would say this is something that's very specific for me, but getting involved in my realtor association. This week we had Realtor 360 here in Lubbock, which essentially is so just for brief, context. Whenever you become a realtor, you join your local association, your state association, and the national association. And so Realtor 360 is the Texas Realtors Association. They're pretty much the ones that oversee all of us that are the top of the top. They go and visit all the different regions and they share industry updates, things that they're working on, etc. And my broker was the president, was this past president of the Lubbock Association of Realtors, and our office is at the Lubbock Association building. And so I've seen firsthand, everyone that volunteers there and the connections that they're able to make. I mean, they travel all the time. They go to Boston. They're going to Washington D.C. tomorrow. They meet at the Capitol. They meet with industry leaders. They meet with legislators, senators, governors. Because when you think about it, there's no union for homeowners. There's nobody that out there that advocates for homeowners in Texas. That's on the National Association of Realtors. That's on Texas Realtors. So that's where we step in and we fill the gap. Is we advocate for homeowners across all of America and locally on the state level as well. And we go into Congress. We help them draft bills. We lobby for what bills will help out homeowners, and then we go against people that'll hurt homeowners and things like that. So I think that level of commitment to being involved in your local association, your state association, is something that I've witnessed in my office with my broker specifically, and I've also been able to see the connections that she's able to make. She's made connections with incredibly powerful people, and I think that's just another step that I should be taking to further my career as a real estate agent, as a realtor. And so I think the realization that I made was, you know what, I need to get involved. You know what I mean? And the thing that's hindered me is like, well, I'm busy. I got a lot of things going on, but the busiest person I know is my broker. I mean, she's a serial entrepreneur. She has a million things that she's doing. And she was able to be the president of the association. And so I'm like, you know what, if she can do it and she can find a way, then I can do it too. And I can start off low level like everyone else and then work my way up. And it'll just help my career. And I'll be able to get into those rooms of people who are, making decisions that impact the nation. And so I'd say that's a realization that I made.
I'm not entirely too sure. I guess one off the top of my head was how sheltered it actually was in these small towns. Being in a bigger city from what I'm used to, full week, I'm here 24 hours, actually on my own. I'm not visiting, I'm not with anybody. I realize, like, man, there's a lot more, which I've always known this, but I'm actually having to put it into practice. I'm having to apply it now. How much more aware and safe you have to be, because there's always something going on. Someone's always sketchy. The driving is times 10 worse. That's a given. A lot more cops. I've seen more cops today than I have the whole time I was in Plainview before I moved. And it just kind of gets you thinking, like, dang, although you are reaching all these new opportunities and growing and leveling up, you still gotta, keep an eye out, stay aware of your surroundings, because we're still fragile, and you never know people's intentions. Wrong place, wrong time, especially with the tensions and all that going on right now with everything we've talked about in previous podcasts. Kind of gets me to realize that, hey, I still got to be safe. Don't let my guard down. And that's one of the things I realized, like, right off the bat with my first week in a bigger town. It was like, hey, you got to be a little bit more careful. And
I think
But
that's funny because we can all relate to that because we all came from Plainview and we moved to Lubbock. I think that's like the funny part. Is we can,
It's spooky.
we all
Yeah,
went
man.
through that.
every time I'm like, oh, what's I get real now. Like I've noticed this week, I've been a lot more like alert, a lot more
On your P's and
on my
Q's.
P's and Q's. If this car pulls up behind me, I'm constantly watching them. I'm like, what, let me just like I gotta chill a little bit, but at the same time, I'm trying to be safe. That's one thing that it's gonna take a little bit of getting used to. The realization, hey, like, although the more you grow, the more you gotta be, alert as well.
Sounds like a whole lot of Bluetooth going on, but I think overall with these realizations, it's just a lot of growth. For me, it's realizing the constraints that I have, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, and it really falls onto me, okay? Falls down to ignorance and learning from, I heard this thing from a mentor in my industry. He says, wherever your anxiety is, wherever your frustration is, you need to work on that. You need to work on that. That's a problem right there. And I've been just really struggling with the marketing side of things. Like I know the to simplify it, there's four types of marketing: outreach, warm or cold, organic content, paid advertisement. But obviously in this industry and during seasons, one's going to work more or work better than the other. Some are more long-term rather than short-term. And yeah, I think that's a constraint for me currently, and just realizing like, damn, I can do better and I can do more in this aspect right here. And I think Derek mentioned it a little while ago about taking risk. Like we need to, because if you don't take steps forward, you're going to stay stuck. And I think it's also inevitable, especially with someone that's wanting to consistently grow and do better. You realize, like, you get uncomfortable being comfortable, if that makes sense. You get uncomfortable being stuck in the same spot, and if you want to see some sort of change, you have to change. So I think that's really the biggest realization for me this week, especially when it comes to not just entrepreneurship, but with myself in general. So it's a good realization. And like I said, I think hearing these realizations, we're in sync with another step of growth.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of how you pointed out, the solution that you're looking for is on the other side of the problems that you're avoiding, the things that you don't want to do, the things that you've been putting off because just like it seems like a tedious task. More than likely, the solution is in doing that work right there. And so that's one thing that I've learned, that my brokers try to put into my mind as well. And also, real quick, I forgot to mention that this week I had the opportunity to go and visit my broker's ranch. We had a ranch day at her ranch in Matador, and honestly, I think what that helped me realize is that the life that I'm envisioning, it's accomplishable. Like, and I know someone who has it, because literally we went to her ranch, 85 acres, Matador, Texas. They have a really beautiful farmhouse that they completely custom built. Like, well, they didn't custom build it. They built a section of it, and then they completely remodeled an existing farmhouse that was out there. And they have a cow business, so they have their cows out there, and then there's a whole bunch of critters that are out there as well. And I was able to go out on the Polaris and just drive around the ranch and just be out in the wilderness, what it felt like, and just walk around and go through the riverbeds and things like that, and just sit and experience the lifestyle that I want in my future. And being connected to someone that is living the life that I would love to be able to have for myself in the future, it's that realization that, you know what, the life that you're envisioning is not as far away as you think. It is accomplishable. I know someone personally. I have a great relationship with her, and so that right there, it was very inspiring, because I'm like, I see how hard she works, and also she's an incredible human being, and I'm just like, I can just take inspiration. It's just like, wow, like she's built this life for herself that people would be envious of. And even myself, I'm like, wow, like this is incredible, but I know how hard she worked for it. But it's inspiring to see that it is accomplishable. It's just a matter of consistency over time. That's it. Just consistency and time. And so that was another realization.
You're
that I had.
able to taste it, get a feel for it.
Exactly.
That's good to hear. Yeah.
Exactly. I got a little taste of the life that I want in the future. And so that was pretty cool, man. It was pretty cool.
It's exciting.
But yeah.
I saw that though. I was like, huh, where is he?
Yeah.
Stalking him.
But yeah, I was at her ranch, and
That's cool though.
we're gonna make it kind of a recurring thing. I want to go up there more often to the ranch.
85 acres is crazy too.
And
I've
she
worked
was-
that's huge.
You know what's funny?
I got some horses,
She was
horseback
like,
riding.
yeah, it's 85 acres. It's pretty small. I was like,
No,
golly.
that's huge.
I was like, bruh, my parents own 1 acre, and I think that's a big. You know what I mean? And
I
she
thought that was big too.
and she
It's
was
like,
like,
they got a
85
lot
she was
on
like,
one
it's only
acre.
85 acres. It's not that big. I was like,
That's badass.
Yeah,
I'm not even
that's
gonna
how
lie.
she
That's
thinks.
badass.
I don't
know,
think I
That's
can even
symbolic
picture.
right there.
I don't think I
That's
can even
symbolic shit.
picture 85 acres.
but it's cool, bro. It's really cool. Like, yeah, it would be awesome to if y'all would be able to go out there and see it. But yeah, it was great, man. It was a great week overall. And then of course, ending it with the number one podcast in the world. Confession, subscribe if you haven't already on my birthday. And so today, let's go ahead and get started into the word. I believe it is Raju's turn to pray before we hop right into Genesis and continue our journey. So yeah. And for those of you that are watching, and for those of y'all that are listening on Spotify, give us a follow and show us some love and give us some feedback. If you have any feedback on how we can make this experience better for y'all on there, let us know. And just in general, we hope y'all enjoy this, and we're open to some fair critiques and some constructive criticism.
Are we reading the whole book of Genesis?
Yeah.
I just realized there's 50 chapters.
We like skip the beginning though.
Yeah, we skipped the beginning.
I forgot what chapter we started on, but anyways.
Which one are we on right now? Hold on, I missed it.
We're
19.
in 18.
18? What?
19.
19. Okay. All right. Our Father, I want to go ahead and just give you praise, Lord, and give you grace, Lord, and give you overall thanks, Lord, for blessing us with more life, another day, another year. Thank you for allowing us to be able to spread your word, Lord, to be able to read it ourselves, to learn from it, and to grow from it, and to share it to our audience as well, Lord. I ask that you continue to bless this podcast, that you continue to bless us and our audience, and that you continue to guide us, protect us, and lead us with your plan, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen, amen, amen. All righty. Ladies and gentlemen, Genesis chapter 19. And this one seems pretty long, so we'll see. 20 seems really short, though. We'll see what makes sense to stop. But, all right. Right before this, just for some context, God had told Abraham that he was going to go to Sodom and Gomorrah because there was a lot of sin that was being committed there. And then that's whenever Abraham had challenged God. Not challenged, but he had that conversation like, well, what if there's 50 righteous men? Will you spare it? And God said, well, I'll spare it if I find 50 righteous. And he kind of went on, well, what about 40? What about 30? What about 20? What about 10? And God said, well, if there's 10 righteous, I will spare it. But he has to go and see for himself. So that's where we're at right now. On to the doom of Sodom. Now the two angels came to Sodom in the evening as Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. And he said, now behold, my lords, please turn aside into your servant's house and spend the night and wash your feet. Then you may rise early and go on your way. They said, however, no, but we shall spend the night in the square. Yet he urged them strongly. So they turned aside to him and entered his house. And he prepared a feast for them and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, surrounded the house, both young and old, all the people from every quarter. And they called to Lot and said to him, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out, that we may have relations with them. But Lot went out to them at the doorway and shut the door behind him and said, Please, my brothers, do not act wickedly. Now behold, I have 2 daughters who have not had relations with man. Please let me bring them out to you, and do to them whatever you like. Only do nothing to these men, inasmuch as they have come under the shelter of my roof. But they said, Stand aside. Furthermore, they said, This one came in as an alien, and already he is acting like a judge. Now we will treat you worse than them. So they pressed hard against Lot and came near to break the door. But the men reached out their hands and brought Lot into the house with them and shut the door. They struck the men who were at the doorway of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they were wearied themselves trying to find the doorway. Then the 2 men said to Lot, Whom else have you here? A son-in-law and your sons and your daughters, and whomever you have in the city, bring them out of the place. For we are about to destroy this place, because their outcry has become so great before the Lord that the Lord has sent us to destroy it. Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law, who were to marry his daughters, and said, Up, get out of this place, for the Lord will destroy the city. But he appeared to his sons-in-law to be jesting. When the morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, Up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you will be swept away in the punishment of the city. But he hesitated. So the men seized his hand, and the hand of his wife, and the hands of his 2 daughters. For the compassion of the Lord was upon him. And they brought him out, and put him outside the city. When they had brought them outside, one said, Escape for your life. Do not look behind you, and do not stay anywhere in the valley. Escape to the mountains, or you will be swept away. But Lot said to them, Oh no, my lords. Now behold, your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have magnified your loving kindness, which you have shown me by saving my life. But I cannot escape to the mountains, for the disaster will overtake me, and I will die. Now behold, this town is near enough to flee to, and it is small. Please, let me escape there. Is it not small, that my life may be saved? He said to him, Behold, I grant you this request. Also, not to overthrow the town of which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I cannot do anything until you arrive there. Therefore, the name of the town was called Zoar. The sun had risen over the earth when Lot came to Zoar. Then the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those in the cities, and all the valley, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and what grew on the ground. But his wife from behind him looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. Now Abraham arose early in the morning, and went to the place where he had stood before the Lord. And he looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the valley, and he saw, and behold, the smoke of the land ascended like the smoke of a furnace. Thus it came about, when God destroyed the cities of the valley, that God remembered Abraham, and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot lived. Lot is debased. Lot went up from Zoar, and stayed in the mountains, and his 2 daughters with him, for he was afraid to stay in Zoar. And he stayed in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. Then the firstborn said to the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man on earth to come into us after the manner of the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and let us lie with him, that we may preserve our family through our father. So they made their father drink wine that night. And the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. On the following day, the firstborn said to the younger, Behold, I lay last night with my father. Let us make him drink wine tonight also. Then you go in and lie with him, that we may preserve our family through our father. So they made their father drink wine that night also. And the younger arose and lay with him, and he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. Thus both daughters of Lot were with child by their father. The firstborn bore a son, and called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. I wonder how long it's been like that. I figured it's gonna go. As for the younger, she also bore a son, and called his name Ben Ami, and he is the father of the sons of Ammon to this day. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Abraham's treachery. Now Abraham journeyed from there toward the land of the Negev and settled between Kadesh and Shur. Then he sojourned in Gerar. Abraham said to Sarah his wife, "She is my sister." So Amalek, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. But God came to Amalek in a dream of the night and said to him, "Behold, you are a dead man because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is married." Now Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, "Lord, will you slay a nation even though blameless? Did he not say himself to me, 'She is my sister'?" And she herself said, "He is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and the innocence of my hands, I have done this." Then God said to him in the dream, "Yes, I know that you were in the integrity of your heart. You have done this. And I also kept you from sinning against me. Therefore, I did not let you touch her. Now, therefore, restore the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you do not restore her, know that you shall surely die, you and all who are yours." So Abimelech arose early in the morning and called all his servants and told all these things in their hearing, and the men were greatly frightened. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said to him, "What have you done to us? And how have I sinned against you, that you have brought this on me and on my kingdom as a great sin? You have not done to me things that ought not to be done." And Abimelech said to Abraham, "What have you encountered that you have done this thing?" Abraham said, "Because I thought, surely there is no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. Besides, she actually is my sister, the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. And it came about, when God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said to her, 'This is the kindness which you will show me. Everywhere we go, say of me, he is my brother.'" Abimelech then took sheep and oxen, male and female, servants, and gave them to Abraham, and restored his wife Sarah to him. Abimelech said, "Behold, my land is before you. Settle wherever you please." To Sarah he said, "Behold, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, it is your vindication. Before all who are with you, and before all men, you are cleared." Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his maids, so that they may bore children. For the Lord had closed fast all the wombs of the household of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Genesis 19 and 20. Now, I gotta say, some freaky stuff that was going on.
Yeah, it's a lot to digest, I'll be honest.
It was a lot. I figured 19 could have stood on its own just with everything that was going on. I was like,
Yeah.
whoa.
This is crazy. But just to kind of go over what happened. So God sent 2 angels to Sodom to pretty much destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. And the men that were there caught wind of them and wanted to sleep with him, essentially. And that pretty much proved the wickedness that was there. And what's crazier than that is that Lot went out and just said, "Well, I have daughters. Like, you can have
That
them."
is crazy. Yeah, he offered them like
He
nothing.
offered them the daughters like they
Yeah.
were nothing. And I'm like, okay. And but I guess they just didn't care. They wanted to get with the angels. So whenever they broke in, the angels struck the man with blindness, and then pretty much they escorted Lot and son-in-laws, sons, daughters, and his wife outside of the city, because they said, "Well, you don't get caught." Like, they didn't want him to get caught up in the destruction, and so he let them all leave. And Lot was like, "Well, thank you so much. Well, let me go to Zoar," and because it's a small city, and they're like, "Okay." go ahead. And they were leaving, but as they were leaving, his wife turned around and was looking at the destruction that was taking place, and she turned into a pillar of salt. And then Lot destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. And then whenever Lot went to Zoar, his daughters were like, let's rape our dad,
Yeah, get him drunk.
Pretty
rape
much.
get him drunk and rape him.
Yeah.
And then they both got pregnant and had Moab and Ben Ami,
Ammon or
Ben Ami or whatever. And now okay. And then Abraham, I don't know what he has with telling everyone that his wife's his sister, but similar to what happened with the Egyptian pharaoh, he did the same thing to Abimelech, and God pretty much cursed him because of it. And but in his mercy, he knows that Abimelech didn't have it in negative intentions because he didn't know, and so God spared him and his household after he gave Sarah back to Abraham. And but yeah, I guess
some weird stuff going
a
on.
lot of incest.
I was gonna say it seems like there's homosexuality because they said, "Bring us those men that came to you tonight,"
Yeah, exactly.
and incest and types of crazy stuff.
Just wickedness,
Lying
bro.
again. Why?
So-
Why did just real quick? Why did Lot and Abraham commit sins again as well? Even though they've went through all that whole, arc before this.
See that's a great question because I don't know. The only thing that I do know is that while Abraham's a prophet, clearly he's not immune to error. I mean, clearly he's proven this more than once. I mean, bro's like I said, bro's obsessed with calling his wife his sister, and Lot. I mean, I don't know. I with Lot, it seems like he has a good heart, but I don't know. To offer up your daughters to a mob of men
It's crazy.
is crazy. And then his daughters, after I'm like, well, they're innocent in all this. They decide to get their dad drunk and then rape him and then get pregnant by him.
Yeah.
And so it just seems like everyone just is weird. I don't know.
I wonder what the context of it is like. Why?
And that's probably all normal in Sodom and Gomorrah. It's just another Tuesday there with all that going
Yeah,
on, right? That's
yeah.
probably why it's like.
I mean,
Hey.
God did say that Sodom and Gomorrah was incredibly wicked. That's why he was going to destroy it. But he
You
spared Lot.
Yeah, I guess you can assume that Lot and his family being there, they kind of grew up and somewhat became wicked themselves now.
I guess you could say, well, remember, because Lot was with Abraham, and then whenever him and Abraham split, I guess this is where he went,
Yeah.
and so he was surrounded by wickedness, but he was still under because he was with Abraham and was family with Abraham. God still saw favor with Lot, and
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything out right here that's like saying that Lot was wicked, but I mean, offering up your daughters, I get that's crazy, but maybe that's just how it was back then, just to offer up your daughters. But at the same time, his daughters here, from what this is saying, they're saying that their father is old, and there is not a man on earth to come in to us after the manner of the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, so that we may preserve our family through our father. So it's like, I guess they were thinking, well, there's not a man on earth that will be able to lie with this or that'll want to after hearing what's just happened, maybe. And so they thought they might preserve their bloodline by doing this with Lot. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then Abraham going and basically repeating the same error that he did with the Egyptians.
What was the purpose, real quick, too, of the daughters wanting to do that? Is that what you're saying you don't know, too? So we're
That's
trying
what
to
I just
figure it
said.
out, right?
That's what I just
Because
said.
I'm trying to
like,
think about it, too, and I'm like, that's kind of just random.
what's your translation say for read 31, verse 31?
And the firstborn said to, where are we at? Hold on. And the firstborn said to the younger, our father is old, and there is not a man on earth to come in to us after the manner of all the world. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him.
Mm-hmm.
It's very similar.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, it kind of gives a reason right there, basically saying, hey, we need to preserve our offspring, we need to continue our bloodline. And then basically, I guess they're thinking, ah, dang, after us living and coming from Sodom or Gomorrah, wherever they came from, right? I'm guessing they're assuming that, oh, hey, no one's going to want us after that. That's my only assumption from the context that we are receiving.
Or
Does it make a whole lot of sense?
no.
No, it
It
doesn't.
doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I'm thinking maybe they're thinking that because they saw the wickedness of men in Sodom, maybe they're like, well, that's how men are on earth. So in our bloodline, they know that they're under Abraham's covenant, so they're already blessed. So maybe they think, well, if we lie with our father, we preserve our bloodline. Like
Yeah.
we'll still be blessed if the rest of the world is like this. But
That was my assumption just because, okay, they're around that environment, the wickedness, right? So I'd assume that they kind of grew up a little bad or just
yeah,
with bad influences around them. So
And does this kind of just leave us on the cliffhanger right there? It doesn't mention it again, right? I assume we'll find out next week when we move to chapter 20,
yeah, I think,
21.
We'll continue. And
Because it's like, well, I wonder if it'll bring it up again or it'll just leave it at that. Like, hey, these two guys are result of incest, and you just gotta accept it.
it also,
Yeah.
I mean, a whole line of people came from them as well. Moabites or
the
whatever.
Moabites,
Moabites. And then the
the Ammon.
Ammonites. Yeah, so that's interesting. And then, I mean, the only difference that we see from this go around in chapter 20, I mean, it looks like he did still receive blessings. Like he didn't just get what do you call it? The Egyptian they got sick, right?
Yeah,
And he was just like, be gone and get away from me. And
Yeah.
like that was that, right?
yeah.
But it seems like this
It
this
seems-
ended a little bit better.
Yeah, because God, well, he even says right here like that. God said to him that, yes, I know that in the integrity of your heart you have done this. I also kept you from sinning against me. Therefore, I did not let you touch her. So in this way, God was like, it's like maybe he was, I don't know, because Abraham did this yet again, and so God was like, you know what, this dude, he didn't do anything wrong, so I'm not gonna allow him to sin against me, so that I don't have to punish him for it. You know what I mean? I have to punish him for Abraham's mistakes. But yeah, just Abraham again. I don't know. Just he's making the same mistakes over, and other people are having to suffer because of it. Because at the same time, even though he didn't necessarily punish Abimelech, it does say here that your vindication before all who are with you are cleared. And God said that, or Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his maids, so that they may bore children. For the Lord had closed fast all the wombs of the household of Abimelech because of Sarah. So, at the same time, they were punished because they were infertile, I guess you could say, or barren, temporarily. And so, yeah,
Very weird 2 chapters. I mean, at least we got to actually, at least for me, hear the story of how Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. And then also hearing about the famous, his wife turning around and
The
turning
pillar of
into
salt.
the pillar of salt. Yeah.
So does God, Jesus let Abraham get away with saying that Sarah's his sister again? That's what I guess it seems like they're at the end of the chapter 20.
That's a good question. Like, you would assume, like, Abraham,
He just kind of lets him
Quit being
be.
dumb,
Like he
bro.
accepts it. Or,
yeah,
quit doing that.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, from what I can see right here, yeah, it kind of kept pushing forward, like, and I don't know. I mean, of course, Abraham, right? He's a prophet, and again, it's like, and then he said, like, well, I'm not lying. He said she actually is my sister, the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. So he kind of said, well, she kind of is my sister.
stretching
again,
the truth.
The incest is crazy, but it's like step sis. You know what I mean? like, step bro, what are you doing? That's kind of what's going on. But yeah, this is a weird reading.
And I guess Lot and his two daughters were spared as well, right? They're living in the Zor now. The
Zoar.
city, Zoar.
Yeah.
Do we hear like more about them down the line?
I'm not sure.
It's a good
I guess we're just
question.
gonna have to find out, right?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
But
See what
honestly,
goes on.
as far as lessons come out from this, it's a good idea of what not to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess sometimes we could just learn lessons from people and just by observing how God treated them, and it was like, yeah, let's not do that. Let's not try to sleep with these angels, right? And
Don't be wicked.
don't be wicked. And it I mean, kind of what we did point to the last episode was like, God said that he would spare the city if he found 10 righteous men, and he couldn't. But Lot was there, and Lot deemed him righteous, so God allowed him to escape from it, right? So I guess in that way, that kind of goes to show that even if you're the only one, even if you're the only one that is living for God around a sea of endless wickedness, he'll still find a way to spare you and your family from the destruction that inevitably they will bring upon themselves. And so, you know, as long as you remain in your faith and don't conform to the surroundings, because I mean, I assume that it could have been pretty easy for him to just, hey, this is what's normal, everyone's like this anyway, so I might as well do it too. But it seems like that wasn't the case, right? But I would say that that's kind of the lesson that we could take is even if you're in the midst of a lot of wickedness, you don't have to conform to that, and God will respect that. God will honor that, and he will spare you from the destruction that your environment brings upon itself. And again, it's not just you, it was his wife, his sons, and his daughters, his son-in-laws. So in that case, whenever you choose to follow God, even whenever you're in a place that doesn't live for him, that actively goes against him, then not only will he honor that, he'll spare you, but he'll spare the rest of your loved ones as well. And he'll provide a path for you. He'll provide a path for you out, and you don't have to succumb to the consequences of the wickedness around you. That you can still stand for God, and you still be there with him, and he'll protect you. You can depend on him to be there for you. So I think that's one lesson that we could take. And then with Abraham, I mean, again, it's just showing that Abraham, he's not perfect.
Yeah.
But God still honors him, right? God made a covenant. God made a promise. And then at this point too, Abraham, I mean, he's like, it's weird because he's not outright trying to disobey God. He's just taking things into his own hands. But he's trying to get to the right destination, but he's taking the route that, you know, he thinks is right, but again, it just hurts other people. So for Abraham, I think it's just, again, just you gotta trust in God's plan. Just trust in God's plan. Don't try to take it into your own hands. I think that's just a repeat of the lesson that we had whenever we first encountered this situation that he did.
It also shows too that as long as your relationship with God is in good standing, as much as you mess up and unintentionally disobey Him, if that relationship is good, He'll still take care of you and you'll be fine. I think that's one thing that we got to realize. Hey, we're still, Abraham's pretty much Jesus' right hand man, and he's still messing up and he's still disobeying Him unintentionally and still like trying to take in his own hands. And if he's doing that, of course we are. So we gotta be like, hey, it's all right. If God's right hand man was messing up and still delivered him to his promises, we'll be okay too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like realizing that, I mean, Abraham, Lot, all these other people, they're human. They're sinners, right? And then just overall having the context behind it that Jesus hasn't came yet and been crucified and died for our sins. So God is over here. Hey, I'm going to destroy this spot. I'm going to send these angels to destroy this spot. Hey, Abraham, I made a covenant with you, so I get it. I got you still.
Yeah.
It's realizing that now. Like,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Yeah.
It's crazy to read, and yeah, I think that's a good point that you and Jeremy had made. Like, having that relationship with God is infinitely valuable because we're human. We're gonna make mistakes. We're still gonna fall into sin. We're still gonna make some decisions that are we probably not the right decisions to make. But at the same time, having that relationship with God, still doing our best to live for Him and walk down the path that He made for us, even whenever we slip up, He's still going to be like, it's okay. I get it. You're my son, and I made a promise with you, and I'm going to follow through with it. So I think kind of how Jeremy said, I think he made a good point with that. Is we're not perfect. And God understands that more than we do, and so we don't have. We should strive to be perfection, right? We should strive toward perfection, but we're not going to reach that oftentimes. And so, but there's grace in that. There's grace in and God being righteous and still loving us. He'll still provide a path for us and stick to His word. God's not a man that He shall lie. So if He made a commitment, then He's going to stick through it. And even if we're not perfect, I don't think God expects us to be perfect. I think he loves us despite all of our flaws. He loves us despite all of our mistakes. And it's just a matter of us still trying to pursue Him. And even whenever we do mess up, we can be assured that God's still going to be there. He's still going to be there. So we got to find comfort in that. And so.
Plus, we wouldn't have a job to do if we were all perfect. If we were all non-sinners and lived perfectly and we're all kind and nice, we wouldn't have any job to do to bring people to Him. We wouldn't, we'd be all stagnant. So it's a good thing too at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. But some lessons that we could take out of it, no matter what. Even though the reading was kind of weird.
Yeah, that one was wicked to say the least.
But now we're on to Matthew. And Matthew chapter 27 for the audience. So turn y'all's Bibles to Matthew 27. And
this one's a long one, so.
Okay. So we can do half and half again. For you and Jeremy.
I'll read up to 32.
Oh yeah, this one is a long
like
one.
right before 32, and then you can finish it.
You could read, yeah. Read to 32, and then Jeremy, you can read through the rest of the chapter.
It's 27?
Yeah. Some heavy stuff.
You're going to start at...
There's going to be some heavy stuff, ladies and gentlemen.
1 to
32?
1 to 31.
31?
Yeah.
If you're still
They can
tuned in,
start
thank
at
you.
32.
Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like, share.
Is it
drop a
Pilate?
comment. Huh?
Pilate? Is that how
No,
you say it?
Pilate.
Pilate. Okay.
Pilate. Pontius Pilate.
Okay. Bet. All right. Jesus brought before Pilate. When morning came, all the chief priests and the elders of the people conferred together against Jesus in order to bring about his death. They bound him, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate, the governor. When Judas, his betrayer, saw that Jesus was condemned, he repented and brought back the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders. He said, I have sinned by betraying innocent blood. But they said, what is that to us? See to it yourself, throwing down the pieces of silver in the temple. He departed, and he went and hanged himself. But the chief priest, taking the pieces of silver, said, it is not lawful to put them into the treasury, since they are blood money. After conferring together, they used them to buy the potter's field as a place to bury foreigners. For this reason, that field has been called the field of blood to this day. Then was fulfilled what had been spoken through the prophet Jeremiah. And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of the one on whom a price had been set, on whom some of the people of Israel had set a price, and they gave them for the potter's field, as the Lord commanded me. Now Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, Are you the king of the Jews? Jesus said, You say so. But when he was accused by the chief priests and elders, he did not answer. Then Pilate said to him, Do you not hear how many accusations they make against you." But he gave him no answer, not even a single charge, so that the governor was greatly amazed. Now at the festival, the governor was accustomed to release a prisoner for the crowd, anyone whom they wanted. At that time, they had a notorious prisoner called Jesus Barbarus. So after that, they had gathered. Pilate said to them, "Whom do you want me to release for you, Jesus Barbarus or Jesus, who is called the Messiah?" For he realized that it was out of jealousy that they handed him over. While he was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent word to him, "Have nothing to do with that innocent man, for today I have suffered a great deal because a dream about him." Now the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowds to ask for Barabbas and to have Jesus killed. The governor again said to them, "Which of the two do you want me to release for you?" And they said, "Barabbas." Pilate said to them, "Then what should I do with Jesus, who is called the Messiah?" All of them said, "Let him be crucified." Then he asked, "Why, what evil has he done?" But they shouted all the more, "Let him be crucified." So when Pilate saw that he could do nothing, but rather that a riot was beginning, he took some water and washed his hands before the crowd, saying, "I am innocent of this man's blood. See to it yourselves." Then the people as a whole answered, "His blood be on us and on our children." So he released Barabbas for them, and after flogging Jesus, he handed him over to be crucified. Then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus into the governor's headquarters, and they gathered the whole cohort around him. They stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him, and after twisting some thorns into a crown, they put it on his head. They put a reed in his right hand and knelt before him and mocked him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" They spat on him and took reed and struck him on the head. After mocking him, they stripped him on the robe and put his own clothes on him. Then they led him away to crucify him.
Crucified between two criminals. As they were going out, they found a Cyrenian man named Simon. They forced him to carry his cross. When they came to a place called Golgotha, which means place of the skull, they gave him wine mixed with gall to drink. But when he tasted it, he refused to drink it. After crucifying him, they divided his clothes by casting lots. Then they sat down and were guarding him there. Above his head they put up the charge against him in writing, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." Then two criminals were crucified with him, one on the right and one on the left. Those who passed by were yelling insults at him, shaking their heads and saying, "You who would destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross." In the same way the chief priests, with the scribes and elders, mocked him and said, "He saved others, but he cannot save himself. He is the King of Israel. Let him come down now from the cross, and we will believe in him." Had to change a page there. He trusts in God. Let God rescue him now, if he takes pleasure in him, for he said, "I am the Son of God." In the same way, even the criminals who were crucified with him taunted him. The death of Jesus. From noon until 3 in the afternoon, darkness came over the whole land. About 3 in the afternoon, Jesus cried out with a loud voice. I don't even know how to say that. If someone wants to
Eli,
say,
Eli, lama sabachthani.
that is, my God, why have you abandoned me?" When some of those standing there heard this, they said, "He's calling for Elijah." Immediately one of them ran and got a sponge, filled it with sour wine, put it on a stick, and offered him a drink. But the rest said, Let's see if Elijah comes down to save him. But Jesus cried out again with a loud voice and gave up his spirit. Suddenly, the curtain of the sanctuary was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth quaked, and the rocks were split. The tombs were also opened, and many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised. And they came out of the tombs after his resurrection, entered the holy city, and appeared to many. When the centurion and those with him, who were keeping watch over Jesus, saw the earthquake and the things that had happened, they were terrified and said, "Truly, this man was the Son of God." Many women who had followed Jesus from Galilee and looked after him were there, watching from a distance. Among them were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of Zebedee's sons. The burial of Jesus. When it was evening, a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph came, who himself had also become a disciple of Jesus. He approached Pilate and asked for Jesus' body. Then Pilate ordered that it be released. So Joseph took the body, wrapped it in clean, fine linen, and placed it in his new tomb, which he had cut into the rock. He left after rolling a great stone against the entrance of the tomb. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were seated there, facing the tomb, the closely guarded tomb. The next day, which followed the preparation day, the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered before Pilate and said, "Sir, we remember that while this deceiver was still alive, he said, 'After 3 days, I will rise again.' So give orders that the tomb be made secure until the third day. Otherwise, his disciples may come, steal him, and tell the people, 'He has been raised from the dead.' The last deception will be worse than the first." "Take guards," Pilate told them. "Go and make it as secure as you know how." They went and secured the tomb by setting a seal on the stone and placing the guards. Matthew chapter 27.
That was deep.
There's
That
a
was
lot-
crazy.
That was wicked. Dang.
There's a lot to go over here.
I want to finish.
I know,
I
right?
want to finish. It's right there.
It is right there.
All right.
All right. Can I read that? Can I read the last one? Ah,
Should we?
yeah, we might as well.
All right.
Can I
Go
read
ahead.
it?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. Go
All
ahead.
right.
Go ahead. Let's finish.
Might as well.
It's right there, bro. It's
Yeah.
right there.
Jesus is risen. Now, after the Sabbath, as he began to dawn towards the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary came to look at the grave. And behold, a severe earthquake had occurred. For an angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled away the stone and sat upon it. And his appearance was like lightning, and his clothing as white as snow. The guards shook for fear of him and became like dead men. The angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus who has been crucified. He is not here, for he has risen, just as he said. Come, see the place where he was lying. Go quickly and tell his disciples that he has risen from the dead, and behold, he is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him. Behold, I have told you." And they left the tomb quickly with fear and great joy, and ran to report it to his disciples. And behold, Jesus met them and greeted them. And they came up and took hold of his hands and feet and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and take my word to my brethren to leave for Galilee, and there they will see me." Now while they were on their way, some of the guard came into the city and reported to the chief priests all that had happened. And when they had assembled with the elders and consulted together, they gave a large sum of money to the soldiers and said, "You are to say, his disciples came by night and stole him away while you were asleep. And if this should come to the governor's ears, we will win him over and keep you out of trouble." And they took the money and did as they had been instructed. And this story was widely spread among Jews and is to this day. But the 11 disciples proceeded to Galilee, to the mountain which Jesus had designated. When they saw him, they worshipped him, but some were doubtful. And Jesus came up and spoke to them, saying, "All authority has been given to me in the heaven and on earth. Go therefore and make disciples of all the nation, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all I commanded you. And lo, I am always with you, even to the end of the age. Matthew 28. Matthew, officially wrapped up.
Round of applause.
Goodness.
This is crazy.
Goodness.
Goodness. For all of y'all that are watching, I hope y'all are as excited as we are. We've officially wrapped up Matthew, the first gospel in the New Testament. And man, this last reading was one for the ages. And
Proud of you guys, by the way.
this
Congratulations.
is awesome. Yeah, congratulations. to all.
I feel good
Congratulations.
after this.
Yeah.
And my heart just
Yeah.
pounded.
Yeah.
That's the iconic moment. Everybody at least knows about Jesus. This part right here.
But to hear it, to hear exactly what happened
And read it.
and read
and
it.
know it.
And another thing too. So as we go over it, right, we understand that Judas, as soon as he knew what had happened, that they were going to condemn Jesus, he felt remorseful, and he tried to return the 30 pieces of silver that he had sold Jesus out for. And they pretty much said, "Well, what do you want me to do with that? What do you want us to do with that? Like, that's yours. You're the one that chose to do this." And then he, went away weeping, and then he hung himself. And he said that the chief priest said that it is not lawful to put the silver with the temple treasury, since it's the price of blood. So they bought the potter's field as a burial place, and for that reason, it has been called the field. It was called the field of blood, and that in and of itself fulfilled a prophecy that was spoken in Jeremiah, in the Old Testament. And then Jesus got sent to Pilate. Now, Pilate didn't want to condemn Jesus because he didn't see him as a guilty man. And you could say even he was confused as to why they were so adamant about punishing him for what crime, other than him saying that, "What, are you the king of the Jews?" or what? But that's it. But Jesus, it's again, he knows exactly what's happening because he's in the middle of the prophecy, right? And he's not saying anything, right? He besides him saying, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And Jesus says, "It is as you say."
You say so, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, damn, that's a bar. But other than that, he asked him, like, "Do you not hear the accusations that they're throwing against you? What do you have to say to that?" And he doesn't say anything. And the governor's like, "Well, I don't know what to do." And his wife tells him, Don't punish this innocent man. I've had nightmares. Like, I've seen this man in my dreams. He's innocent. Don't do anything against him." Right? So she's fearful because she understands who Jesus is, because I guess God revealed the truth to her. And so she knew. And so then there was every year they released a prisoner that was determined by the people. And so he brought out a notorious murderer named Barabbas. And so you have Barabbas here, a notorious murderer, and you have Jesus here on the other side. And Jesus is innocent. And he says to the crowd, "Who do you want me to release? Barabbas, the murderer, or Jesus?" And they all say, "Barabbas. Release Barabbas. We want Barabbas," knowing the fact that he is an actual murderer. And they say, well, Pilate has to oblige because that's kind of that's what they do, that's their thing. And so he releases Barabbas, and they're like, "Okay, well, what do you want me to do with Jesus?" And they say, "Crucify him." Like, they literally are saying, "Crucify him, crucify him." And he's like, "Well, why do you want me to crucify this man? What has he done?" And it's literally what it says. What evil has he done? But they don't say anything. They just say, "Crucify him," not giving any justification. And so, of course, there's a riot that's about to start that Pilate witnesses. And so he's like, "I'm innocent of this man's blood. See to it yourselves. If you want to do it on your own." And all the people said, "His blood shall be on us and on our children." So he gave them Barabbas, and after having Jesus scourged, he handed him over to be crucified. So, of course, whenever he's being scourged, this is Jesus taking the whippings on his back, on his body, on his face and his legs, and he's being, basically his flesh is being torn off of his body. His muscles are being exposed because of the beating that he's taking. He's losing pints and pints of blood. And then afterwards, they see him and they mock him, they spit on him, they beat him, they put a crown of thorns on his head, and they start saying, "Oh, all hail, King of the Jews," mocking Jesus. And Jesus doesn't do anything. He just takes it. And then they strip him, they put a scarlet robe on him, and then they give him the cross to carry. And again, they found a man named Simon, and they pretty much made him help Jesus carry the cross, because the cross was so heavy and he had to walk for miles up a mountain to get to the place where they were doing the crucifixion. And Jesus literally didn't have the power, the manpower to hold it up himself. So they assigned another man to help him carry it. And so they took it onto a place called Golgotha, which means a place of skull. And they took him up there, and they had, drove in the nails through his hands, and they put him up on the cross to crucify him. And then they took his garments and started betting on it, who was going to have it. They started casting lots to divide the garments between them. And then above his head, they put, "This is Jesus, King of the Jews." And then this is one of the things too, that there was two robbers that were crucified with him, one on the left and one on the right. And people were passing by, again, mocking him, says hurling abuses at him. And then they say, "You who are going to destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, save yourself. If you're the Son of God, come down from the cross." Again, mocking Jesus, mocking what he had prophesied, what he had told them. And then saying, he saved others, he can't even save himself. He's the King of Israel. You know what I mean? He's supposedly the King of Israel, but he can't even save himself. And again, they say, he trusts in God, let God rescue him if he delights in him. And they just keep insulting him. And then, of course, we see whenever Jesus says, my God, why have you forsaken me?" quoting a psalm in the Old Testament, which is exactly about the crucifixion that's taking place. So if you understand, if you knew the context, if you read the Old Testament and read Psalms, you would know that Jesus is literally speaking in Psalms. He's speaking the word of God, and they hear him.
I was literally about to ask, was this, because I didn't have that context and I didn't know that was a psalm. Was this maybe one of the first and only times even Jesus was questioning God?
Well,
right, because he's saying, "Why did you leave?"
I can give you the exact psalm.
Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani, or Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. Isn't that what they speak Latin? No,
They spoke
what was it?
Aramaic and Hebrew.
Eli, Eli, lema
I'm pretty sure that's Aramaic.
Sabachthani. That is, my God, why have you forsaken me? Yeah, it's some pretty deep stuff.
So it comes from Psalm 22, which I'll pull up right now so I can read it for y'all. So in Psalm 22, because mind you, people are hearing Jesus say this, right? And of course, whenever you're reading it, you might even think like, why is Jesus saying? It sounds like he's questioning God. It sounds like he's asking God why is he forsaking him? Which doesn't sound like something Jesus would say. But what he's quoting is Psalm 22, and I'll read it. My God, why have you forsaken me? Far from my deliverance are the words of my groaning. Oh my God, I cry by day, and you do not answer, and by night, but I have no rest. Yet you are holy, O you who are enthroned upon the praises of Israel. In you our fathers trusted. They trusted, and you delivered them. To you they cried out and were delivered. In you they trusted and were not disappointed. But I am a worm and not a man, and reproach of men, and despised by the people. All who see me sneer at me. They separate with the lip, they wag the head, saying, Commit yourself to the Lord. Let him deliver him. Let him rescue him, because he delights in him. Yet you and he who brought me forth from the womb, you made me trust when my mother made me trust when upon my mother's breast. Upon you I was cast from birth. You have been my God from my mother's womb. Be not far from me, for trouble is near, for there is none to help. Many bulls have surrounded me. Strong bulls of Bashan have encircled me. They opened wide their mouth at me, as a ravening and a roaring lion. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted within me. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue cleaves to my jaws. And you lay me in the dust of death, for dogs have surrounded me, and band of evildoers has encompassed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. I can count all my bones. They look, they stare at me. They divide my garments among them, and my clothing they cast lots. But you, O Lord, be not far off. O you my help, hasten to my assistance. Deliver my soul from the sword, my only life from the power of the dog. Save me from the lion's mouth. From the horns of the wild oxen you answer me. I will tell of your name to my brethren. In the midst of the assembly I will praise you. You who fear the Lord, praise him. All you descendants of Jacob, glorify him, and stand in awe of him. All you descendants of Israel. For he has not despised nor abhorred the affliction of the afflicted, nor has he hidden his face from him. But when he cried to him for help, he heard. From you comes my praise in the great assembly. I shall pay my vows before those who fear him. The afflicted will eat and be satisfied. Those who seek him will praise the Lord. Let your heart live forever. All the ends of the earth will remember and turn to the Lord, and all the families of nations will worship before you. For the kingdoms is the Lord's, and he rules over the nations. All the prosperous of the earth will eat and worship. All those who go down to the dust will bow before him. Even he who cannot keep his soul alive, posterity will serve him. It will be told of the Lord to the coming generation. They will come and declare his righteousness to a people who will be born, that he has performed it. He's
never
literally
knew that.
quoting the song. He's literally verbatim, word for word, what is going on. Jesus is saying it on the cross. Everything that's taking place. So again, you think Jesus asks, God, why have you forsaken me? But what is he doing? He's reading this psalm. He's in this psalm, and everything that's taking place to him is happening in this psalm that he's quoting. What is he doing? He's still praising God. He's saying that God, I may cry my day, or what is it? He's saying, well, pretty much at the same time, this is one thing that I'm reading, and this kind of made me I don't know. It grabs at my heart, because he's describing himself, and he's saying, I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax, it is melted within me. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue cleaves to my jaws. And you lay me in the dust of death, for dogs have surrounded me. A band of evildoers has encompassed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. I can count all my bones. They look, they stare at me. They divide my garments among them. And for my clothing they cast lots.
Yeah, he literally
Isn't that
described it,
exactly what
yeah.
he's describing? That's
Mhm.
literally what's happening.
I think that's interesting. That's awesome. I think a lot of people don't realize that, or kind of like a hidden detail almost. I think a lot of people would kind of surface level think about what I thought originally without having the context in the background. They're like, "Whoa, is this Jesus actually questioning for once?" You know.
Yeah.
Originally, if they don't, if they're new and they don't know the psalm or the history behind it or the context,
No.
and it's
See,
crazy to learn.
Jesus isn't questioning God, he's praising God. Because as it continues, it says, "The afflicted will eat and be satisfied. Those who seek him will praise the Lord. Let your heart live forever. All the ends of the earth will remember and turn to the Lord. All the families of the nations will worship before you. For the kingdom is the Lord's, and he rules over all the nations. All the prosperous of the earth will eat and worship. All those who go down to the dust will bow before him, even he who cannot keep his soul alive. Posterity will serve him. It will be told of the Lord to the coming generation. They will come and declare his righteousness to a people who will be born, that he has performed it." He is worshiping God on the cross. Jesus is here being subjugated to the most brutal murder you can think of. Mind you, what he's saying, my bones are all out of joint. I'm poured out like water. My strength is dried up. My tongue cleaves to the top of my jaws. He's saying my heart is like wax. He says I can count my bones. Jesus is going through the most immense pain that any human could ever conceive of. We will never be able to understand exactly what Jesus is going through on this cross. And what is he doing? He's praising God. He's worshiping God in the midst of all of that. Isn't that amazing?
It's beautiful. It's
Isn't
powerful.
that amazing?
It's powerful.
He's literally worshiping God on there. And you read it at first and you're like, what is he saying? Is he questioning God? No, not at all. He's quoting a psalm. And what are psalms? Psalms are songs of worship towards God. That's what they are. And he's having this human moment, right? Because he's feeling this pain, but at the same time, he still recognizes that he's doing the will of the Father. He's fulfilling this greater overarching theme where he's saying at the end of the day, after the dust settles, every head will bow. Everyone that lives and dies will turn towards the Lord. I mean, come on.
Amen.
That's
man.
amazing. This is amazing, man. Like
That's-
this is everything. This is everything. This is why we follow. This is why Jesus is the King of Kings, because in the midst of suffering, in the midst of the greatest suffering any human can experience, he's worshiping God. He's worshiping God, and it's incredible.
It opens up a
incredible.
whole new perspective to me now.
Exactly.
I was gonna say too, my mind was stuck on. We've all seen the Passion of the Christ, and I was kind of reading through it, and I was like, they're leaving out a lot of the details that I remember watching in the movie, and I was also realizing that the chapter's already long as it is,
Mhm.
right? And that's without those details. It probably be a whole book on its own.
Well, and that's the thing too. Mind you, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are 4 different accounts, 4 different perspectives of the same thing. So when you compile all of them together, you get the full picture. So the details that you're talking about, they're there, but in Matthew's account, he didn't get that. But guess what? When we read Mark, when we read Luke, when we read John, they'll get those perspectives, and when you
Different
put them all together, you get something like the Passion of the Christ, where you're able to compile. Oh my gosh, because it doesn't have whenever he the robber on the other side, whenever Jesus forgives him
Speaks
of
to
his
him.
sins and says, "I'll see you in paradise." Right? It doesn't mention that in Matthew, which is why it's important to read all the Gospels, because it gives you that full 360 perspective. But yeah, I mean, and as you mentioned, like how Jesus, when he finally, dies on the cross, the accounts are more like I said, different accounts. They'll give more the context of what's happening there, but it's powerful, man. It's powerful.
It's a crazy story, man.
It's not a story; it's real.
It's real.
That's crazy. I mean,
It's
I'm
his
just learning a
story.
lot too. I didn't know that
History.
the other gospels fill in those details. Like, is with that one, I didn't even realize like who the other 2 prisoners were, what like their little story, or about the woman helping. I think I remember seeing they're trying to help Jesus, give him water and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And they're like pushing the woman, like, no, don't help him. Or even the iconic one. It's even on like the, I don't know what you would call them. the decorations of Jesus when he is crucified. It has the iconic scar when he was stabbed to make sure that he is dead,
Mm.
right? And I'm like, well, where is all that? But I just learned that it's in all the other gospels.
Yeah.
I think it's very powerful as well. I think it mentioned it mentioned at the end of that psalm, but also chapter 28, verse 14 and 15, or even 13, telling them, "You must say his disciples came by night and stole him away while we were asleep. If this comes to the governor's ears, we will satisfy him and keep you out of trouble." So they took the money and did as they were directed. And this story is still told among the Jews to this day. I feel as if this gospel is speaking to us directly, right here, specifically at that last sentence, to this day. He's, I don't know how to describe it, but it's the context and way in how he says it. So I think that's very powerful, and I think it also kind of scares me because this is some conspiracy quote unquote shit, right? They did this back then to Jesus. What is them from stopping it to doing that to any more disciples that come forth? And it says it specifically in that psalm and in this last sentence. And this story is still told among the Jews to this day. And I think that I know this sounds like a whole lot of conspiracies, but they do this, you know. They do this. And they did it to the King of all kings, Jesus Christ, and it sucks. It sucks rereading this story. It's heartbreaking, right? But at the same time, it's so much power and so much inspiration to get from it.
I mean, like, it's heartbreaking to know what Jesus went through, but at
Yeah.
the same time, there's hope and joy in knowing that because of his sacrifice, we're able to experience the kingdom. Like, we're able to get that relationship with God because he was willing to humble himself, become a man, and walk amongst us and suffer the most brutalizing, the most humiliating suffering and punishment known to man. And he did it and worshiped God the entire way. And because of his sacrifice, we're able to live.
Yep. And
Who were the other Marys as well?
Mary
But-
Magdalene was was one of the 12 apostles, and then Mary, his mom.
before we pursue with that, and he left us with a mission as well.
Yeah.
Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything that I have commanded you. And remember, I am with you always to the end of age. Bro, that this last chapter, I don't know, it's kind of crazy. I feel like he's speaking to us directly. Like, a lot of this is story, like history, right? Storytelling, right? But these last few chapters, these last verses, is him directly speaking to us,
Yeah,
and that's blows my mind.
it's powerful, bro. It's
It's
crazy.
like if we were there and he was telling us what to
Uh-huh.
do.
Yeah,
Like we were like, in the disciples' shoes at that moment.
Yeah.
Like and now he's telling us.
Well, and think about it, right? Like, Jesus had risen, and of course, the women are the ones. I think this is something that's pretty profound, is that at this certain time, women's accounts were not taken seriously. If a woman came and said this in this time period of the world, it would have been seen like as a joke almost. Like, really, you're gonna believe the words of women? But the fact that Jesus used these women, right? Used Mary Magdalene and used Mary, the mother of Jesus. He used them, and they were the ones that witnessed this. Like, that right there, that is in profound in and of itself, because it just goes to show that if this story was made up, right, you wouldn't use women as witnesses, because they were not seen as credible. But instead, God used women because he knows he didn't need to. This isn't made up. This isn't something that didn't happen. Jesus rose from the dead, and these women were there to witness it, and they're the ones that told the disciples that Jesus had risen, and then Jesus appears before them all. And I think what's even interesting, right, is that it mentions here, right, that that there was some doubt amongst them. He said they worshipped him, but some were doubtful. They see Jesus, and yet they're like, "There's no way."
They're also afraid.
They're afraid because they're literally, it's like they're seeing a ghost, but it's Jesus. And I don't know, man. I just think it's crazy because the disciples, again, just continues to show that even the people that were closest to him still doubted, and Jesus again continues to prove himself over and over, defeating death. And then he tells them exactly the Great Commission, the mission for all believers, to go make more believers, to go make more disciples, to spread the good news.
That's crazy, bro.
And there's still people out there that don't know Jesus, that don't know the real story, that believe the one where the disciples just stole him in the middle of the night while the guards were asleep.
Yeah.
And that's who we're supposed to go and tell them, like, no, this is what really happened.
Yeah.
Since
But-
that story's been told.
Excuse my
To this
language, but
day.
isn't this badass? I think it's badass. I think it's badass.
I guess I want to get y'all's thoughts. We've read the entire Gospel of Matthew, and I can't say how much that I've been able to grow, but through this reading, right? How would y'all describe y'all's relationship with God, and what have you learned the most from reading this gospel?
It's a good
big
open-ended question. Yeah.
I think for me, I'll make it very clear. Like I've known the story, right? We've known how Jesus was born, started his what's the word? His ministry, was crucified, and rose from the dead, right? We know the simple stuff. But being able to actually read a full gospel, read into details that I've never even heard before, understand it as well. It's not just reading and skimming over it. It's actually understanding what Jesus did, being able to put myself in his shoes as well in certain situations that Jesus had to go through, that I've even personally gone through. Not to go to say that I've gone through everything he's gone through, but being able to relate to him in some aspects and take inspiration from each one of those times that he was going through, maybe some good times, even some adversity, and learning just based off that, like, hey, this is the correct way into handling these certain situations. And also being able to have a mission that's greater than these worldly things, because I know as a human, as a person in this modern age, we do want a lot of this worldly things, like the money, the items, the cars, the houses, right? But Jesus was above that. And I think that's very powerful. And I think that we were able to realize that and see that and understand that throughout this whole gospel, and see that there's a greater mission on this earth than just this materialistic things, these worldly things that a human desires. And I think that's very powerful. And then the ending the way it ended is just, it's such a great story. It's such a great way to go out. And for those last two verses that I kept mentioning, is directly speaking to us. Like this whole time, yes, we're being told or spoken to by God, right? But it was more like, hey, we're reading the story, like what happened, how it happened, right? Reading the details. But that ending was directly speaking to the reader. Hey, this is your mission. Hey, this is what's going on. And I think that's just a great way to end it as well. But that's the main thing that I got from him. And I also got a whole lot of warmth. That's the best way to describe the way my heart's feeling right now, and a big old smile on my face, just because, yeah, it may have not ended, of course, the way that we necessarily wanted to end, right? It's pretty rough, but such a beautiful and powerful story. It's inspiring as well, you know? And that's how I describe the feeling afterwards, after completing it, just warmth and a big old smile on my face, just knowing, like, honestly, I kind of got the verge to tear up a little bit just reading it. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, it's very powerful. That's what I took from this.
Yeah, it was exciting. Kept smiling the whole time too when Derek was talking. All those powerful moments. For me, I I guess the main idea that I could grasp from, Matthew and a little bit even from Proverbs and even now we're on Genesis. These are my first times I'm reading through the Bible, my first chapters, my first books, and and it makes me excited. It gets me feeling good because coming from a little very religious background, didn't really take it seriously. Now, look, doing what I'm doing with the podcast, even influencing my family a little bit, being the catalyst, kind of goes to show that it's never too late. And this is where, kind of Genesis comes in for a little bit. What I was talking about, Abraham's this, 70-year-old man, then 99-year-old man, still carrying out missions for Jesus. And here, I've mentioned it a lot of times, I'm a young 20-year-old thinking that my life is over when I mess up or when something goes wrong. I beat myself up, say, no, I give up. Let me just rot and be a bum. Nothing's for me, right? Going from that to, hey, it's gonna be all right. As long as you got a relationship with Jesus, you'll be fine. These little bumps and bruises you get, don't sweat it. You'll be fine. Whatever happens, you might not get the outcome you want. You'll be fine. That's the biggest thing I've learned. As we started reading, especially from Matthew, that He's always there with you. Do not lean on your own understanding, of course. That was a big one. It just goes to show that we have this plan. It doesn't work out. We always emphasize that. And God comes through and says, hey, you're going the wrong way. Come this way. It turns out way better than you ever thought. And that's kind of where my life is. I can just imagine, man, if here I thought that, I wanted to do this, this, and this, and I went in a complete 180 direction. Now look at my life, and I'm happier than probably I would have been if I would have did my own thing. And it gets real exciting too. And one of the most things that is more powerful, really heartwarming to me, is being that catalyst for my family. My sister getting baptized. They want to be more, you know, Christian-like for my niece and nephew. Raise them in a loving home. My mom, she was kind of nervous about it at first. She was one of the ones that didn't want to be laughed at and this and that. But now I kind of caught her listening to Christian music every now and then while she's driving, or she'll say her little prayers, do her little sign of the cross, and just those little things that I'm noticing ever since we've started reading the book of Matthew. And it's like those details and all those things have been there since forever. But now my family and people see me, hey, he's not embarrassed, he's not scared. They're not scared. They have a whole podcast, they're sharing God all over. Why should I be scared? And I think that's what Jesus wants from us. Don't be scared to talk about him. Don't be scared to give out his word. And they're right there at the very end. Remember, I'm with you always to the end of age. And that's the greatest bar to summarize. I mean, pretty much all the 3 chapters or all the 3 books we're reading right now. Just a little bit of context and different stories, different perspectives, and it all makes the Passion of the Christ, which that's amazing.
Yeah, and I'm excited to hear that for the both of y'all. And for me personally, it's like I've always grown up you know, in the church. I've known the story and some of the context behind things, but being able to read it now as a grown adult and having the desire, like the hunger for a relationship, it just brings more gratitude than ever. It brings me more peace, more joy, more confidence in saying that this is my God. This is this is the King of Kings. This is the God that I serve. That he looked death in the face and laughed at it, spit in the face of the devil and overcame death and did it with gratitude towards God and with us in mind and paid the ultimate price on my behalf. Whenever Jesus is suffering, whenever Jesus is reading that psalm where he says like all of my bones are taken out of their joints. I'm like water. I have no strength. I can count the bones. Whenever he's talking about that, I'm like he's taking the punishment that I should have taken. What he's going through, the suffering that he's going through, that's what I deserved because I sinned against God and the wages of sin are death, and he took my place. And so now that we've read through this, it gives me more gratitude. It gives me more perspective, and not undermining and not undervaluing, not underappreciating exactly what Jesus went through. Everything that he went through in the Garden of Gethsemane, whenever we're reading it, whenever he can't even get the disciples to stay up with him, whenever he's pleading with God, having that human moment, like, God, if there's any other way, can you take me out of it? But at the end of the day, your will be done. Whenever he's betrayed by Judas and turned in and he still calls him his friend. Whenever Peter denies him, and yet Jesus still chose him to be, you know, one of the lead disciples, he still loved him. Like, Jesus went through so much. He had barely anybody to really trust and lean on, but he chose to go through it anyways. He chose to suffer the most inhumane beating and brutal torture known to man, but he did it for me. He did it in my place, in your place, in your place, and to all the viewers that are watching, he did it in your place so that you could be saved, so that you could come into relationship with God and experience heaven. And this has just brought me gratitude. It's brought me perspective, and it's brought me to the place where I'm like, I'll never take advantage of the gift that I have been given, the good news. I'll never take advantage of it again because I've turned my back on God before. And the fact that I did that, it makes me sick. It makes me, it's a part of my story that I regret the most. But God has brought me back, and I'm closer to God than I've ever been before. And I'm hungrier for God than I've ever been before. And I can't say that I know for a fact that this is a catalyst for that. Just like how Jeremy's been a catalyst for his family, this has been a catalyst for the rest of my life, that I'll never abandon Jesus again. And so that's the thing that I've gotten the most from the book of Matthew.
It's beautiful, man.
It's a
We've
real
all learned a lot.
tearjerker, this one,
I
isn't
know.
that?
It
But
is.
And it kind of makes you realize too
Good
that
emotions.
it's
It
not
is,
that
man.
bad. You know, I keep telling myself this all the time, but I can't help it when I have something to complain about, and it's not even nowhere near comparable as what Jesus went through. You know, something as simple as like, dang, it's hot today, and I gotta walk all over, and I'm sweating, and you know, I'm like, you know, complaining, being, you know, lame, but I gotta realize like, hey, I'm complaining about that, but Jesus, you know, paid the ultimate sacrifice. Let me be grateful that I'm able to do this for a little bit. Kind of a shift in mindset. Let me stop complaining as much, being negative, and let me realize that, hey, all those things, although these things are uncomfortable, it's not as bad as what Jesus went through for me.
It's perspective, man. It's our Father, our King of Kings, our Lord and Savior. Like, I think it's great that people are speaking out more about Jesus, right? But I don't think people really understand what he went through. I don't think people really understand the gravity. Whenever we say Lord and Savior, we mean that. We read it yourself. You'll see for yourself exactly what Jesus went through, and you'll come to appreciate exactly what his sacrifice was for all of us. And man, that is our
Once
Lord
you know,
Savior.
you know.
Once you know, you know.
Yeah.
Jesus is King.
Powerful.
Jesus is King. And yeah, I'm excited for the future to come. For all of y'all that are still watching or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, thank you for tuning in, liking, commenting, subscribing if you haven't already, sharing it with all your friends and family.
Follow the Spotify.
Follow the Spotify. every single
Yeah,
day.
we're on there now.
We're on there now. So follow us on Spotify, and we're just continuing. Next week, we're going to be starting the Gospel of Mark, the first gospel that was actually written, the closest to Jesus' death. I believe 40 to 60 years after Jesus had died. This is Mark is the first gospel and is the shortest gospel. And so we'll be getting into that one next week. And of course, still continuing our journey down Genesis, reading what happens with Abraham, and maybe we'll see what happens with Lot. But that's all we got for y'all today. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. We really appreciate y'all. We really hope y'all enjoyed it. We will catch you on the next one very soon. We love y'all all. God bless y'all. Peace.